Okay, once you pull the tub out, and again, pulling the tub out is just a matter of taking out extra drywall. You can see I went back about 12 inches to the side of the tub and then up about 30 inches or so. And just cut that chunk out and you'll replace it later. That way the tub just flies right out and just comes straight on up. So it's sitting here like this and just go straight on up and out. Okay? You don't want to usually go to the other side because that's where all your valves and everything are still at. And so just pull them up from the back side and it'll come right out for you once you take off this drywall. Okay? And then we're going to set the new shower pan. So to set the new shower pan, we're going to take a piece of cardboard that's I have squared up. I have the square side of the factory edge against one side. Then I just butt it into the other side. Doesn't matter where it touches. You ain't going to change that mark, so it is what it is. So as long as you take that factory side and slide it all the way up till whenever, as soon as it touches, that's your mark, because you're going to put it right back in the same spot to double check your work. So right now I got the thing set here. It's just a nice big piece. I'm going to set the shower pan on it and I'll show you what we do next. Okay, before I go any further, I just want to show you, this is the new classic 400 Delta. Been out for a couple of years now, but some people haven't seen them, so I'm going to show you. What it is it has this awesome customized engineered foam on the back. So you just set, if you're setting it on a level ground, that's absolutely perfect. If you don't have level ground, make it level, then this thing works. If it doesn't, there's no shim in this thing. All right, so you need to have level ground. You set it right on the level ground, and you don't have to put any mortar on it because it's already level, and this thing's engineered to hold weight, and it does a fantastic job. So the point is, if you have a nice level ground out there, then go ahead and you're perfect. You're set up. It needs to be absolutely level for your walls to be right and everything else to be right. So you want it absolutely level. So refill your floor. You know, put in floor leveler or whatever you need to do to make your floor perfect. And then you're going to set your Delta Classic 400 Delta 400 shower pan right on the level ground. Like I said, it's engineered to hold weight, so you don't have to put it in wet mortar and stick it in wet mortar to get it set right. Okay? Okay, I almost missed a step. That's that important step of taping it down, because it can, the way it's set up, and it can easily just shift over while you're dry fitting your shower pan. So to keep it from shifting over, just tape it down on one side like that. Can't go nowhere because you're all the way against the wall there. So having it taped there keeps it from shifting at all. That way we know that when I go to market, I'll show you what we're doing to market. When we go to market, we'll know that it's exactly the correct spot. Okay, it's not shifted at all. Okay, when I'm making these videos for you guys, what I'm trying to do is show you all the aggravating things and not necessarily every single step. The things that are easy, you don't need to be told what 2 + 2 is, but if I do leave out anything, feel free to ask, and I'll text you directly and let you know what's up. But anyway, as far as this is concerned, here I just dry fitted the shower pan in, and it's touching right there on that left corner there. And then you see it over here, it's touching over here in that corner right there. And now you'll notice the big gaps here, 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 here. There's a gap. And of course, even over here, it's all the way through. There's a little gap. There's a gap there, and of course, gap here. And it's pretty relatively tight there, so that's fine. And then there's a gap right here in this one, though. So anyway, everywhere there's a gap, you got to secure this thing to the studs. Okay, you're going to sink in a screw that's going to secure this pan to those studs, and you don't want to flex the pan. The pan's got to be perfectly straight. So you just need to put in shims to bring it out to the pan. All right, and then only have the shim come up to the edge of the pan. So the shim will come right to this edge. All right, and so you have a full shim from here to here, and then it's in there nice and secure, and then you sink a screw through it. Pre-drill first, sink a screw through it so the pan does not deflect at all. Pan should be perfectly square and straight, okay? And then the shim shouldn't be sticking up at all either, because then it'll mess with your wall covering. When you go to put the wall covering back on, you have to deal with that shim. Okay, and all the way around, that's what we're going to do. So we know it's good because it's sitting square on that stud, and square on that stud, and that's as good as we can get. That's the building, and the rest of the studs are out a little bit, but too bad, you got to deal with it. So that's your issue to deal with, whatever you come up to and up against. All right. So anyway, for now, we have our. This is exactly the way the pan's going to fit. When I'm done with this thing, I got it shoved into that corner as far as it'll go, and then it's over here and it has a little bit of air space. That's just the way it goes because the studs are off a little bit. So anyway, at this point, this is exactly the way I'm going to set this pan eventually. And again, you want to pre-drill every hole you're going to secure to the studs on the pan. Just pre-drill them and sink in a screw. Okay, a tech screw or something nice with a nice head on it. Doesn't stick out too far. Definitely don't use drywall screws that are bugle shaped, and they'll bust it right through there. So anyway, a flat screw, a head, and put it right on. And I use tech, but you can use whatever you want. Anyway, I'm going to show you now for this here. What we're going to do is, because again we're secure because it's taped down. We know it's all the way against that back because that's the way we set it. So we know this is the way we're going to do it. So at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to just take a magic marker or pencil, whatever you got, and make that hole. Just put a mark right there. So that way, when we go do our plumbing, we know we're going to have that hole. We're going to cut the hole out. We're going to set it back in there. We're going to measure off everything and get our plumbing exactly where it goes. We'll actually put the cardboard back, and I'll show you that. That shows you it's exactly perfect. So then, when we go to put the pan in, it's absolutely dead nuts perfect. Okay, so there's no messing around. So right now, this is absolutely good, and we'll go from here. Okay. I don't know if you have any other issues other than perhaps you're wondering, you're going to do the same measurement on yours, but perhaps you're wondering what is the measurement from here to here. Okay. And so from here, let's see if I can get the measuring tape on there. You know, it looks like 1 1/4 or something, and that's where you want your 2-inch pipe to be, approximately right there. Okay, so that's the height you want it sticking out of the drywall. Okay, I'm going to try to get a better tape, better measurement for you. Hold on a second. Yeah, it looks like 1 1/4 inches. Okay. And that'll do it. 1 1/4 above the cardboard. It'll be sticking out when we're finished. Okay, and that way we know it'll just land up perfectly for your plumbing. Again, if I was deficient in my answer, it's now marked out. That's where the plumbing is going to come through. And that's, of course, bigger than 2-inch ABS, which you need coming through. You got to hook 2-inch ABS to your drain. So that is bigger than 2 because that's the whole size of the entire unit. Okay, and there's a big giant drain unit that goes onto that. So you just want to center it. You're going to cut it out exactly as the mark. You're going to put it back on there. You're going to get all your measurements. Okay, like right now, I'm going to get a measurement from here. I'm going to put a line from here straight to here with a square. I'm going to put a square on here. I'm going to have a line going straight across. Okay, then I'm going to measure from here, wherever you can see it would. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to put a mark right there. I'm going to put a square line right there. I'm going to measure the center of that. Measure from here to there to the center of that. Okay, and that's going to give me where I'm going to have my plumbing set up. When the cardboard's gone, I'll use the measurements. And then after I get it totally dialed in according to the measurements, I'll put the cardboard back on over it because I'm going to cut that hole out with a utility knife. And I'm going to put the cardboard over to see that it's absolutely perfect. Okay, and then once it's absolutely perfect and dry fit and perfect, then I'll glue it all and then double check again. And it'll be 1 1/4 inch above that cardboard when we're finished. And then when I set the pan down, it'll be absolutely perfect. Okay. Okay, again, I'm going to be moving this cardboard here in a minute and start my plumbing. I'm going to dig out the dirts in the way, all the debris. I'm going to reset the plumbing, get it all set up for a 2-inch P-trap and a 2-inch pipe. And so I have to know what my measurements are without using the cardboard anymore. Cardboard's going to be gone. So I clearly marked the side of the wall where it touches the center line. And again, where it touches the center line. And I have the marks at 8.5 inches to 15. I can always refer back to those marks. It's 8.5 from the wall to mine, and from 15 from the wall to mine. Yours could be different. You know, just you gotta mark it so you know where your center line is going that direction, where your center line is going that direction, and then your measurements to the center line. Once you put your pipe right there, and that's the measurement you come up with, it'll fit right through that hole, and it can be up 1.25 inches, and that'd be absolutely perfect. Okay. You may not be as anal retentive as me, but I do a lot of redundancy. And even though all that's exactly the way I told you, and that's the way it goes back in, and yada yada, whatever, I still put a pencil mark on the ground where that touches, and around there, and even over there, I have a pencil mark. So I'll know when I put this thing back in there, in case something changed or something happened, who knows. I'll double check with that measurement too, or those marks, to see that it's in the right spot. Okay? Okay, when you go to cut this out, this is an 1.5 inch P-trap. I just dug it out of there, and I just cut it to, I'd better show you just in case you had an issue with it. So that when you see your vent pipe, that's your vent for the drain, and you'll be able to know where approximately your thing is routed from. It always vents from the vent. Okay, so it's set up right there, and I just cut it out of there. You want to cut it, well, leave as much material as you can, so I cut it right at the bell of that elbow, and so I got as much 1.5 inches as I can, and then I can always add a coupling if I need to come out further. I don't, but if I did, that's why you leave as much material as possible on the part that's remaining. And so you get your this one here out of the way now, and then you're going to be putting this gigantic one. See the difference between 2 inch and 1.5 inches? It's gigantic, the difference. And we're going to have a 2 inch for a shower drain. It drains way faster than a bathtub. So you're going to put it in there, and remember, you want approximately where your lines are at. So remember, you put a mark there, and you put a mark there. So now you line it up at approximately where it goes, which is what I just did. I'll fix that in a second. I'm just doing this for the video. And then you measure off that from the inside of that to level. So you take a level, put it down there, and then you measure up right where you're going to be, and that'll tell you how high you want your pipe to be. It's going to be 1.25 inches above concrete. We already just checked that out, so it's set up right there. We'll measure it up, and it's all a piece. Okay, if you didn't see it before, you're going to be using an 1.5 to 2 inch adapter. That's going to adapt that 1.5 pipe there, the existing, because it was a bathtub before, and you're going to be making it 2 inch so that you'll be able to put your stuff on. So the adapter, of course, just goes right in the hole, and you'll glue it all together and then place it where it goes, lined up with your marks, and you're absolutely dead, and that's perfect. We'll double check it with the cardboard, and we'll know we have it. When you go to make that cut down there, it's real hard because it's way down in the dirt. One of these tools is indispensable. Okay, it's your oscillating tool. They're pretty much everywhere nowadays, so they're easy to find. They're relatively inexpensive. You can find them cheap. Anyway, it gets right in there and is able to do the job. Okay, so that's the only other tip I got for you there. I'll just go ahead and put the new P-trap on and get our measurements going. Okay, before I continue, I'll go ahead and just show you what I got, what I had to do to get it from 1.5 inches to 2 inch. So I had to put on a little 1/8 inch bend, another piece of 1.5 inch pipe. Of course, remember the reducers inside there that goes to 2 inch, and then a 2 inch P-trap. Okay, worked out perfect. You can do this. Okay, so I got the all installed. You can see it's right in the center there. It lines up with our lines we put on the wood over there and over there, and then of course over here also the lines I have set for the cardboard. To double check the cardboard so it's perfectly lined up the way it was originally when the shower pan was in. And then as you look right here, it's perfect. And of course, these things have a tendency, because they are up about 8 inches, or they move a little bit too. So it's perfectly fine. And I'll set the shower pan now. Okay, we're going to set the drain now. You want to get this one here, the Odie 42084 from Home Depot. And it says ABS no caulk, but don't believe that. You're supposed to caulk it in. Okay, and so anyway, it works fantastic if you do it correctly. They used to use DAP 3.0. That's that product right there. DAP 3.0 was a ticket, but now they have discontinued that, and now they're saying that this amp, DAP amp, supposed to be a hybrid. It says outperform silicone, yada yada, whatever. It's white. It replaces that. So we're going to see. Anyway, you want to do is put a, let me just tell you, you put a little bit of this product on the seal. That's right there. So we're going to put it right there on that product right there. And you're going to stick it in the hole from the other side, of course. And then when you go to hold it in, to do it right, you have to have a tool like this one here. This one's Home Depot, name brand. It's a, nothing inexpensive, $10 or whatever. But it works perfectly for all kinds of different flanges, but one of them is this one. So it just works perfectly to hold that in tight. And then we'll use a pair of pliers and we'll make it super tight. That way there's no leaking. People complain about these things all the time. They say, oh, these things leak. They don't leak. They leak because you don't do it right. It's the operator, not the awesome engineer machine. They complain like there's two pieces here that make up the product and it's not sealing right and it leaks. There's no such thing as a leak. If it leaks, it's you. You did something wrong. If you seal this thing here, just think about this for a second. I'm going to walk you through this. If you seal this here, there's your thing. The water runs down. Right now, water runs down and over that. Okay, then you put this thing here in it with a seal. You put on the product and you seal that thing in. Now water has to go, it can't go in between, it's sealed. So it goes up and down and runs down 1.5 inches into the drain. Nothing can leak. It's impossible to leak if you do it right. Okay, so there's no blaming Delta for your incompetence. So pay attention, use the proper sealant here, and put it in, use that tool to tighten it up right, and I'll show you that, and it'll be perfect. It'll never leak, okay? Do it right, do it one time. Okay, use this much product on the thing, and it'll just squeeze out as you put that proper tool on it. And again, as you can see, here's the thing. And once you put this in there, it's locked in. And if that's tightened, water will have to go off here and over and in 1.5 inches down. So it certainly can't leak anywhere else. It can't leak around the nut, can't leak anything. It's impossible to leak if that sealant holds. So you were doing something wrong. You're putting caulking or silicone or plumber's putty, or so you're doing something wrong if it leaks. Okay, it's impossible to leak. Okay, if you follow my directions, that's the way it looks. Absolutely perfect. No, you just wipe off the extra sealant, get it all out of there before it sets, and that thing is totally sealed in. As I said, water will just cascade up over and into the drain. It's 2 inches down from this lip of this thing, so there's certainly no way to leak. It's impossible to leak. So anyway, the sealant's correct. So don't use plumber's putty, don't use silicone, don't use painter's caulk. Use there's 3 different products. DAP 3.0 used to be the ticket, but DAP changed it now and is going to AMP. But there's 2 other products. Just look on your Delta instructions, and it shows 2 other products you can order online if you can't find the AMP. But I'm certainly, if you go to Home Depot, you get it. That's where usually you find these shower stalls. So anyway, that's what it looks like now on the back. This way here, like I said, I use that tool and to tighten it, so it's just a matter of having the vice grips on it and just slip it over, and it just cranks. You can see it fits on perfectly. There, and you just crank it on. You hold it vice grips with your hand, crank it on, nothing moves. It's perfect. You'll have your against the thing, you'll have your, it comes with this drain. It's a piece of rubber, then a piece of paper, then your plastic nut, and that's what tightens it. Okay, and it's tightened all the way, period. There's no flex. Just tighten it till it touches and done. So you're under pressure, and it's perfect. Okay, then we'll go to the next step, setting that drain correctly. Okay. Okay, if you followed my directions up to this point, then your pipe looks like that. Well, you can see it, but anyway, it's perfect. It's sticking up the appropriate amount, and everything's perfect. I mean, you can't ask for better than that. Let me see if I can get a flashlight here so I can show you this. Anyway, it's dead and that's perfect, and everything's great. So now you go to put your pieces in there to seal her up. So on this, you have 3 pieces that work for that. And this is your first piece. Let me go ahead and put the lid down. I'll show you them. You have the top. You have the top. You have your rubber piece, and you have this little sleeve that pushes down the rubber piece. And there's a little key also, and I'll get that in a second. Anyway, what you want to do is put this rubber thing down. If you didn't watch when it came out of the factory thing, this has a bevel on it, and this is flat on it. The flat goes down, the bevel goes up. And that's because this thing here, which pushes that down, fits right on that bevel. So bevel to bevel, okay? The flat goes down, and then the bevel to bevel, and then you key it to tighten it. So I'll do one piece at a time and show you. I'll put the rubber in first, then I'll put the ring on second, and then I'll show you how the key works, and we'll get this thing tightened up and sealed up, ready to go. Okay, just as another tip, I got the rubber in there. I push it all the way down with the screwdriver. Again, flat side goes down, bevel side up, because this ring has a bevel side on it, and it matches the other ring, the rubber ring with a bevel. And sometimes it's a little bit difficult because it's a tight fit, of course, to make it seal. So what you do is just simply pull. If it's too tight, I want you to pull on this side while you're pushing down on this side. Okay, if you got another part on this side, you pull on this side, and that gives you room to push down on this side. Okay. And so you do that all the way around and get it all the way down, because there's a flat part of there, so it won't let it go too far down. You can't push it too far down. It has a little ring at the bottom molded into the drain, and it won't go any further than it's supposed to. Okay, and then you take your other ring with a bevel on it, and just sit there and slip it right on there, and then you're going to use your ring key, and you put that in there just like so, and use your screwdriver to tighten it. Okay, so you put your screwdriver in there and you give it some tighten, so it'll keep going and tighten that thing all the way down to makes the rubber super tight. Okay, it's hard to do all this up by hand, but anyway, one hand. Go ahead and do that, and we'll be all set. And if you're a moron like me and you're trying to make a video and doing everything with one hand, and you drop your key down the drain, you got to fish it out with a magnet. Okay? I'll go get my magnet and we'll continue. Your pan should be absolutely perfectly level in all directions. And once you've decided, that was before it was dry fit, and you knew what you had to do to the floor to make it perfectly level. Anyway, being perfectly level now in all directions, you're going to, everywhere you see a stud, every single place you see a stud, you're going to drill a small pilot hole big enough for the screw to pass through without deflecting. And then we're going to put in shims, as I told you before, to make sure the pan does not deflect all the way to the voids. We have natural voids between the stud and the pan. You don't want to just crush that pan up to the stud. You want to put a shim there and then cut off the shim flush after you're done. So you're going to put in shims, make them perfect, make everything so nothing's deflecting, everything's right on. Pre-drill through the shim and through the flange, and then sink in your screws. Okay, you get this thing set up correctly and done perfectly like a professional. All right, you can do this. As I said, if you're not paying attention and you drop the key in the hole, you must get it out of there. You can't leave it in there. Create a problem for drainage. So I brought out my big magnet, and there she is. Bing, bang, boom. Anyway, make sure you get it out if you do drop it. Most people are knuckleheads, but if it happens, it happens. Okay, before I move on to finishing up this drywall, I wanted to show you the screws in the pan and give you a couple tips on those. Okay, so the screws, they secure to each stud, and these things are flexible. They're sitting solid on the ground. We've already discussed that. Sitting on a nice level floor. Everything's perfect there. And then you go to put it in, and they're a little bit bowed per se. They're not exactly perfect. So always push down on the corners. Push down all the way to make sure it's flat on the ground. Then put a screw into that first stud. Okay. If I can show you on this side here. Push it all the way to the ground and put on the first screw. And then when you go to the back, put your level on it. And when you go on the back, you're just going to pull up a little bit until it's perfectly level. Okay, it doesn't matter because the bottom's not going nowhere. The bottom's already laying down there. You're just moving the lip up a little bit. The lip doesn't hold any weight. Okay, the weight's out here where your people stand, and it's laying on the ground. So you pull up that lip until it's perfectly level. You want this surround to be absolutely level, so when you go to put on whatever you're going to put on for a finishing walls, it'll be on something perfectly level. Because if not, it'll cause a million problems. So pull up again. Put the first thing you do is push the thing on the bottom. So push it down here, and once it's down, screw it into the stud. Then come to the back and pull it up until it's level, and throw a screw in it, and then screw in wherever the things are at. What I found is right here on if you do that to the first one, it's perfectly level going this way, and then over here it's perfectly level going from front to back again. Way over here, push these down a hair, not much, just down a hair, till that way it pulls the water off the corner. Okay, the water doesn't want to sit there. Even if it's perfectly level, it'll just sit there. So you want to come down a little bit. So just push these down just a hair, these two in the middle or so, and that'll be perfect. That way water completely rushes off and goes down the drain. Okay, that's the only other tip I got for you there. I'm going to go ahead and finish drywalling. I don't know if I ever talked about the valves, but when you replace your valves, depending on what you got, I happen to have cast iron, or not cast iron, I happen to have galvanized steel. So I just hooked onto it wherever it was at, and then continued on through PEX. Okay? And you can do the same thing. That way it's all brand new. All right? Put a new valve in there, you're all set. Lasts a lifetime. Okay, I want to show you another trick. I messed up when I put this one piece of drywall in here. I had it all cut right and it all fit perfectly, but I realize now before I go to put my walls on, I want to take away that closeness right here to the thing. You don't need that dry, even if it's water, not as waterproof, but water resistant or mold resistant or whatever you got. It doesn't matter, you still shouldn't have it that close. So I'll take away a 1/4 inch there, and then when I put my finished material, it'll be perfect, it'll be right on it, and you seal that. But if any water did get behind it, it would just hit that and then swell it up. Okay, so eventually it'd mess up. So you want to always have a gap. You can see a gap here, anywhere the water could get underneath something or whatever. You want to have a gap to where there's no way it can, if water got behind it somehow over time, it wouldn't mess up the drywall. Okay, it wouldn't make it swell and then wreck your wall covering. Okay, as I was just saying, make a little 1/4 inch slice there. That way, again, if water got behind it and somehow, then it wouldn't be swelling up the drywall. Okay. Okay, if you're getting ready to put in your walls at this point, same as me, there's a few things you got to do. So I got the pan in perfectly, everything level in every direction. Like I said, I got a very slight push down right there. So this corner and this corner, which have a tendency to hold a little bit of water, not much, just like a teaspoon each time you take a shower. They stay right there because it's just the way it's designed. It can't fall out. And so if you push down a hair right here, not much, but it's a hair, before you screw it into your studs, then it'll drain into the drain. Anyway, so the rest is all perfectly level, ready for shower door. So you want everything perfectly level best you can. Anyway, it's all ready to go. And I'll go ahead and show you to do the corners now. The most important thing when you're doing these kind of walls in that are solid walls like that is we're going to make the corners perfect. So there's no movement on the corners, because once you seal them in, they give you the sealant. Once you seal them in, they won't have no deflection. They won't move at all and cause the corner to come apart. And then of course add water to the back of the system, which is not intended to take. So it being waterproof or mold proof or whatever, water resistant drywall, it means nothing. Don't get them wet. It may be a hair better than regular, but not much. It's not intended to ever get wet. So anyway, do your best not to let that happen. So what I'm going to do is make my corners perfect with Fix-All and tape, and see if we can't get ready for the sheets. All right. Okay, so that's it. It looks absolutely gorgeous. The product is just fantastic. I love it. As I put in a bunch of these things, and they're just absolutely wonderful. And as I said, we have the DeWalt stuff, or the doors and all that concerned, and then you have this awesome seat. Thing works fantastic. Thing's perfect. Feels really strong when you sit on it too, because you're actually bolting up with 4 big giant screws on each side. So anyway, of course it's perfect. But anyway, that's your whole thing. And went with a DeWalt, I mean the Moen valve, and the magnetic wand is fantastic. It slips right on and off. That thing's wonderful. All their stuff is so awesome nowadays. Anyway, if you have any questions, put them down below. But that's the product, and it looks fantastic. You can see it's just absolutely gorgeous.